There we go. Okay, so here's a short video.
Just imagine you were born in a slum where sewage runs in the street and the rubbish lies in the open. You've never seen the world outside. This is your home, and this is your church. Imagine being born in serious poverty, like half of the world. It means that you own nothing. You can't buy anything or travel where you want. Your father's small salary as a laborer means there's no money for new clothes, no money for proper food, no money for medicines when you fall sick, no bank account, no pension, nothing for tomorrow. No dignity or sense of self-worth, no hope of learning to read and write or getting a decent job, no future. It's bleak and it's dark, and it's how millions in Pakistan live their lives. Can you imagine that?
Can you imagine that? That video was made a number of years ago. We got David here who put it together, and Mike, you probably recognize his voice narrating it. And now obviously you guys could imagine it. With the help of Mike and Sheshtin, you guys caught a vision to actually not just understand the situation, but actually to take a step. And I would really like to thank you, this church, for the years of giving and support, of praying for the work. And obviously the support you've given to Mike and Sheshtin has been fantastic too. But the thing that Mike mentioned there was all... is this going to move on? Yeah. So you guys who live... there you go. In Beckenham, a nice, lovely part of the world, gone too far. There you go. Decided to get involved in the lives of people in Pakistan. People you would never meet. People who, you just heard stories about. And for me, that is a fantastic part of the gospel. The church as family caring for brothers and sisters, not because they're our blood brothers and sisters, not because we know them, not because we like them, but because we feel a connection and sharing their pain. Here are some bleak statistics. So, is it possible for me to move? Oh, if I move this further back. Sorry, I can't see the screen behind me. Eyes in the back of my head. So Pakistan, 225 million people. When I was growing up there, I think it was only about 100 million, probably less than that, 80 million in the 70s, 80s. So huge population growth. Statistics, is always a funny thing in Pakistan. So 2% Christian, 4%, somewhere around there, but probably 5 or 6 million people who are Christians. A third of the population, that is the same amount of people as the entire population of Britain, live on less than £2 a day. And within the Christian community, that percentage would be much higher. You saw the pictures of a guy going down into the sewer to clear it up. Those sorts of jobs are quite typical among the Pakistani Christian communities. And if you get Mike's book, you will understand the reasons behind that. Just a plug. There are 22 million children who don't go to school. Pakistan is actually quite a young population. I can't remember the average age, but it's quite a young population. But 22 million people, children, who don't go to school. Again, within the Christian community, it's probably going to be higher. There are government schools that are free, but quite often, Christians don't want to send their kids there. The curriculum is very biased, and you read all about the wonderful things that Muslims have done and all of that, and most of the Christian story isn't told. In fact, last time I was there, this guy showed me a book, and it was talking about this famous poet, a Pakistani poet, and it said that he had gone to some government university. But what it didn't say was that the school he went to was one of the Christian missionary schools. Completely written out. So that's why education is so important, particularly for the Christian community, to get schools closer to where they are. We're called Starfish Asia. Do you know the story of the starfish? You've heard it, most of you, some of you. Okay, a boy's walking down the beach, and he sees thousands of starfish, and he's throwing them back in the water, yeah? And a guy comes up to him and says, look, why are you doing that? There are hundreds and thousands of these things. You're not making a difference. He picks up one and throws it back, and he said, I made a difference to that one. Now, in Pakistan, with so many issues, I mean, you know, we could be here all night talking about the different problems and the issues and all of that. This has been one of the things that I have found most overwhelming as I've come into this role, is just so many needs. And the fact that we're called Starfish Asia helps me to remember, okay, we made a difference to this one. Yes, there's still a lot out there, and maybe we'll get round to managing to do something for them too, but we made a difference. We can't save them all, but we made a difference to that one. So I thought tonight I would just tell some stories about some of the ones who we have made a difference to, as a way of kind of illustrating the work in general. And if it's a bit higgledy-piggledy or not as well formed, then ask questions afterwards if you need clarity. These words were said to Mike when he was leaving Pakistan, when he was thinking about what he could do to help. A Christian businessman said, if you want to do something for the Christian community, then get them educated. And that is really, right, Mike? The guiding words for what Starfish is all about. It's about supporting local people who are already doing schools and helping them to develop and do it better. Yeah. This thing is sometimes slow. So we heard a lot about the poverty. Now this young girl isn't actually part of our school, but what she's doing is she's making bricks. In the Punjab, in the middle part of the country, it's a big industry making bricks. And a lot of the people working on there are living in pretty horrific, badly paid situations. Some people would say it's akin to slavery. And it's not just the parents, but they have to get the whole family involved in order to make enough. Now this girl, Shamail, the tall one, she actually does go to one of our schools. And when I say our schools, it's shorthand for a school that we support, because we don't set up schools, we don't start schools. We find people who are already doing it, who are trustworthy, and we want to invest in. So Shamail works actually on that brick kiln behind her, and she says she had always wanted to get an education, but because of the situation, education in Pakistan, if you're going to get a good one, costs money. She didn't see how it was going to be possible. The principal and her husband from a nearby school visited the brick kiln to talk about education. And they were able to say to her, well, look, we have a school in Gujranwala, and it's not far from where you live. We will provide everything you need, and you can get the education that you want. She's got 3 siblings, and I'm not sure whether they are now also attending school or not. And here's another lady, Javeria. I met her last year. She was in year 9 last year, and she's from Faisalabad, and you can see her school, okay? They're doing exams, they're sitting out in the open, but they do have classrooms along the side. This young lady also comes from a brick kiln family. In order for her to be allowed by her family to go to school, she said she wakes up at 4 o'clock to work on the bricks with her dad so that she can then come to school at 8, be at school from 8 till 2 or 8 till 1, however long the school day is, and then return to help her father. When I met her, it was November last year that I met her. So, and in Pakistan, year 9, you do an exam, and so I was eager to know how she had done. So I sent a message to the principal. How did Javeria do in her exam? Guess what? She's resitting year 9, and it's heartbreaking. She didn't get the grades to progress up to year 10. So even though she has that desire, the situation makes it very, very hard for her. Are there any teachers here today? Oh, there's one admitting to it. Jenny was going to come as well, but she's got COVID. She's also a teacher. If you work in a school or a teacher, you know that teachers are the core of good education. And this is a group of teachers going through some teacher training. And you could say, well, surely they've all been to university, they've all got their PGCE or whatever it is nowadays. Unfortunately not. A lot of the schools we support are out in villages, and it's very difficult to find good qualified people. Good qualified people will also want quite a high salary. And so what we try to do is to make sure that teachers get some kind of teacher training as they go along to improve the standards. The other thing is, you'll notice most of those are young ladies. Teaching is a profession that young ladies, before they get married, can easily fall into and do for a few years or whatever. Then they get married and they move, and then new teachers start. And so the training thing is an ongoing process. Now, however, this lady, her name's Amna, and she was in a similar situation to all those young ladies. She was inspired to become a teacher by a teacher at one of her schools, of the school she went to. And she started working at St. James School in Johanabad. Is St. James in Johanabad? In Lahore, anyway. It's not in Johanabad. In Lahore. And she had only passed up to intermediate level, which is the equivalent of A-levels. But through the teaching that she did and the visits from the staff members and the encouragement she received and going away to teacher training, she actually started developing as a really good teacher. And then she gets married. And then she and her husband move away. And so for a number of years, I think Starfish lost touch with them. She gets back in touch with Starfish because the place she's moved to, she and her husband has started a school. And they had started a school with like 20 or 30 kids. And they are now running the education school, which is where the first girl from the brick kiln is studying. And she is quite a talented principal. When you visit the schools, they've got very clear lesson plans. She's using puppets there. I was talking to my friends here about not wanting to have just rote learning. So she's trying to teach differently from what is the norm. And so that's our teacher training. But we don't just want teachers to be good educators. We want them also to be growing in their faith. The vast majority of the teachers are Christian. In some schools, because there's a mixed population and there may be some Muslim students going to the school, there are some Muslim teachers as well. But the vast majority are Christian. And so what we'd like to do is we provide them with, the schools that want to take part, with a tutor from the Open Theological Seminary who will go every Friday and have a little bit of a Bible study with them. So this is a Bible study happening in a village school called Wahidabad. And you can see the school building behind. It's kind of made of mud, and some of it is in a pretty poor condition. Interestingly enough, the teacher for this school is a lady doing the Bible study. So through this, it's a discipleship training program, and that is helping them to grow more confident as Christians, grow more confident in their faith, because they are a big role model. They are maybe the main role model that these kids will have. Wouldn't you love to go into a primary school in Britain and see a sign like that on the board? So this is the education school. They're all holding books. A number of years ago, on a visit there, Mike and the visitor were going around, and the visitor said, "These kids don't have any books. How can you have a school without books?" And since then, every year, we try to raise funds in order to provide every single kid with a set of school books. But you'll notice down at the bottom, that side, whatever side that is, do you see those books? They look a bit different, don't they? Any guesses what they might be? You can read it. That's cheating. Go on. What does it say? Bible is my book. Okay? Thank you. I didn't actually know what it said, but I know that it's part of the Bible curriculum which Mike wrote. So Mike sat down and he wrote a curriculum for the schools, a biblical curriculum schools from year 1 to year 7. And so the teachers who are getting the discipleship training are also then teaching the kids about their own faith. And it's not just about the Bible. It includes stories about the history of Christianity in Pakistan, etc. That was the inspiration for his book about the amazing story about Pakistan Christians. So he's done that for us adults in the West to read, but there's also a school workbook and a school book which goes through the same thing, helping them to understand their own heritage, because it's so important. The fact that, maybe the Magi came from that area where Pakistan is. I can only mention that bit because I haven't read further than that, Mike. But it plots the whole history. So not only do we want them to have the good educational books, but also a decent Bible knowledge. For those of you who will read this, or maybe you've already read it, there's a story here about Dr. Shazia Munir, who is now a qualified doctor working in, I think it's Sialkot, Gujarat. Interestingly enough, 2 years ago when I was there, I met up with the students who were scholarship students, and I did a little video, which I discovered. And so let's watch that.
I'm Shaiza, fourth-year medical student and studies in Washington Medical College, Gujarat. I'm from Sargoda. My baba is plumber, and I have one brother and one sister. My brother does a job. Previously, he did it, but now he's jobless. and my sister is a teacher. My mama is a housewife, and my baba is a plumber. It was difficult for us to carry out my expenditures, but Starfish helped us, and now I am becoming a doctor. Thanks to all of you.
Praise God.
What kind of doctor do you want to become? A surgeon or a child doctor? Or?
I want to be a cardiologist.
So that was while she was still a student receiving a scholarship from Starfish Asia. And it's so nice to now know that she's gone through the process. She's now working as a doctor, and she will start specializing as a cardiologist or doing that training. So that's part of the scholarship program. At the moment, we have about 183 children. And the scholarships are not only for the degree kind of level, but they're also for the 2 years after matriculation. So the matriculation is equivalent to GCSE, and then the A-level years, you would then go to a college or something, and that all costs more money. So we support them. And there's some other stories in there about other people who've had scholarships and what they're doing. So Starfish Asia at the moment, we're supporting about 10,000 children and their education through the schools that we support. And that's 50 schools. Most of the schools are in the Punjab, which is the middle part, but we also support some schools in Karachi and a couple of schools near Islamabad. Along with that, we support 4 homes for orphans or the disabled. So those 5 young ladies there, they are all blind, and they have had an education through the Ananias Blind Home, which was the very first project that Starfish started supporting. It's now, we managed to get some donations to it, and we've managed to build an extra section so there can be 24 girls living there at any one time, and we've refurbished the old part as well. The lady who runs it, Khalda, is a fantastic lady who has a real vision to go out and find children with this disability, with blindness, and tell their parents, look, that's not the end of the road. They don't just have to stay at home and, do things like that. They can get educated. One of the girls who was there many years ago is now a professor of Urdu at a university. Seems to be a bit of a delay on here. Within Starfish, it's not just about the individuals, the pupils getting a better education. It's also about trying to develop the schools. We don't go out looking for the very best schools and saying, here, we'll give you some more money to do whatever you're already doing. We're trying to find schools which are trying to do something and make a difference to their local community, come alongside them and say, how can this get better? And Holy Shepherd School in Karachi is one of those. That's what it used to look like. Do you see the crack in the wall there, where you can see daylight through? It's built on a hill, and apparently the whole school was basically sliding down the hill. So we didn't think that was very good. So the building at the far end is the new school building, which Mike and the team managed to raise funds for, and it was completed in 2022, I think. The building with the patterned wall, that's actually a vocational training center. That was built with money from the Japanese consulate. But this school has grown and developed in a pretty tough area of Karachi, where there's been quite a lot of opposition from the majority population. I have a couple of pictures of the inside. I think, if this is going to move. There we go. Yeah. So that's the downstairs. Quite a difference. How do you think a child whose house is fairly haphazardly built will feel coming into a school like this? You think so? And for the Christian community, who's used to having the worst of everything, to be able to have a school like this, it could almost make others jealous. These are the bathrooms. Or these were the bathrooms 2 years ago before it was used. I haven't got any recent pictures, but that's all part of it. We want to raise, not the expectations, but give people a sense of hope within the Christian community. We don't have to always have the worst of the worst. Now, unfortunately, not many of our schools, in fact, I think this is the only school that has quite that standard. But the vision is to try to do this more and more as schools manage to improve the education and get better teachers, etc., to then also improve the infrastructure so that kids get that feeling of, wow, this is better than my home. Wow, education is important. Things like that. So I don't know what the time is, but future hope, these are sort of some of the things that I hope to be working on, or I will be working on, and hope to see. So a focus on improving teacher standards. We have to, if we're going to say to people we're in the business of education, we need to do something to help improve the standards. It's great that kids who don't go to school can come to school and get some kind of education. That's brilliant. But wouldn't it be even better if they actually got a good education? And that more of them didn't just drop out when they're in year 5, but stayed on to matriculation, had ambition and ability to go further, to go to university, and to get better jobs. In Pakistan, Christians and Muslims, they live kind of quite side by side. The Christian might be the one working, sweeping the floors in the house or whatever. But we want to see Christians in business, in politics, in, all those sorts of areas. At the moment, we've got 50 schools scattered over quite a large area. And so one of the things we're hoping and have been thinking about for a while and trying to develop is more regional teams, because our main office is in Lahore and has a staff, and then Danishmand, who runs it, has to visit all these schools. And if there are 50 schools, are there 52 weeks in the year? Yeah. But then schools don't operate all that time. How often can he get round all the schools to encourage and motivate, etc.? If we can develop more regional work somehow, then actually we'll be able to give the schools much better support, guidance, and encouragement. And then, of course, once those things are in place, we would love to see more schools getting helped. In 2016, Starfish did a survey. It's available on the website, and it identified 600 small Christian schools, okay, all struggling with resources and stuff. So wouldn't it be great if we could actually, we help 50, but maybe we could help 60, 75, 100. But we can't do that until we know that we can give them good support. So that's kind of what we're hoping for, and what's driving me forward in this job. And that's the website. And so we're back to the original story. Do you remember how the original story ended? I made a difference to that one. Well, there's an alternative ending, or an ending after that. So after the boy throws it back and says, I made a difference to that one, he said, I can't save them all, but I can save more with your help. It's impossible to do this alone. And we are so thankful for our partners, individuals, trusts, churches who are involved in this work. And the only way it's going to grow and develop is if somehow we can all get more people excited and just even knowing about the situation in Pakistan, caring and doing something for their brothers and sisters. Thanks. I think that's the formal part. Over with Rob. I hope it was worth coming all the way from Hatfield for.
We're going to invite you to have dessert now. I don't quite know how that's working, but there will be dessert and also a bit of a comfort break. And then once you have your dessert in front of you, Rob and I will do the Two Rob show. And there'll be a chance for you to ask questions and for me to ask questions while you have your dessert. Okay, does that make sense? Lovely. Okay, thank you, Rob, ever so much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.